Imagine a room with 100 American women sitting in it. Young, educated, successful. Now imagine that 45 of them will never get married or live with a partner by 2030. This is not the plot of a science fiction movie. This is an official forecast by analysts at Morgan Stanley, one of the largest investment banks in the world. And the most interesting thing here isn't even the number itself. The most interesting thing is why this is happening. Because the reasons behind this statistic will shatter everything you thought you knew about love, marriage, and modern relationships. Stay until the end, because in the finale, I'll reveal a paradox that shocks even sociologists. So, let's start with the facts. In 2019, Morgan Stanley analysts published a report that almost nobody noticed at first. It stated that by 2030, 45% of working American women between the ages of 25 and 44 will be single. No husband, no partner, no family in the classic sense. For comparison, in 2018, that number was 41%. And in the 90s, just one generation ago, most women of that age were already long married. But wait, before you assume this is a story about unhappy, lonely women, let me stop you. It's far more complicated. And the first reason behind this phenomenon will definitely surprise you. Reason 1. Women no longer need marriage financially. For thousands of years, marriage was first and foremost an economic arrangement. The woman received protection and provision. The man received a homemaker and heirs. Love was a pleasant bonus, but not the foundation. And then this system, which had worked for centuries, broke down in the span of a single generation. Today in America, women earn almost 60% of all college degrees. Think about that number. For every 4 men with a degree, there are 6 women. In major cities like New York or Washington, young, childless women already earn more than their male peers, for the first time in human history. And what does this mean in practice? A woman no longer needs a man to survive. She pays for her own apartment, buys her own car, travels on her own. Marriage has turned from a necessity into an option. And when something becomes an option, people start being far more selective about it. But here's the question. If women have become more successful, why don't they simply marry for love? After all, money is no longer the problem. And this brings us to the second reason, and it's far more dramatic. Reason 2. The math of dating is broken. Research shows something remarkable. Even the most successful women overwhelmingly want a partner who earns at least as much as they do. Sociologists call this hypergamy, the drive to choose a partner of your own level or higher. It's not a whim, it's a deep-seated program that took millions of years to form. Now for some simple arithmetic. If 60% of college graduates are women and 40% are men, a shortage forms in the dating market. A successful woman with a master's degree is looking for her equal, but there are physically fewer such men, and everyone is competing for them. In some American cities, there are nearly 2 educated single women for every educated single man. The result is a paradox. The more successful a woman becomes, the fewer options she has. She climbs the career ladder, and the pool of potential partners narrows with every step. Sociologists have called this the marriage gap of educated women. And you think that's the worst of it? No, because at this point, dating apps enter the stage, and they make everything even worse. Reason 3. Tinder destroyed the relationship market. Here's the number that explains everything. On dating apps, 50% of all female attention goes to just 15% of men. The most attractive, the most successful, the tallest. This creates a completely distorted reality for both sides. What happens to those 15% of men? Exactly. They don't need serious relationships. Why choose one woman when the app offers dozens of new options every day? They don't marry, they swipe. And what happens to the women? They date men from that top tier, get used to their level, and start considering it the norm. But these men don't offer them a future, and the ones who do offer a future now seem uninteresting. Psychologists call this the paradox of choice. When there are too many options, we can't choose any of them and keep waiting for something better. The average American woman today spends years on dating apps, thousands of swipes, hundreds of conversations, dozens of dates, and the feeling that there are no decent men left. Even though, statistically, she's surrounded by men who 50 years ago would have been considered a great catch. Imagine a supermarket where only delicacies are on display, and all the regular products are hidden in the back room. That's what the relationship market looks like today. Remember this moment because we'll come back to it at the end. And now, the fourth reason. And this one is no longer about women, but about men. Reason 4. The quiet crisis of American men. While women were storming universities and career heights, something strange was happening to men. They began to disappear. Not physically, socially. Millions of young American men today aren't studying, aren't building careers, and live with their parents. 1 in 3 men between 18 and 34 in America lives with mom and dad. Depression rates among young men are breaking records. They meet people in real life less and less, spending more and more time in video games and social media. Over 60% of young American men today aren't in a relationship at all. Among women of the same age, that number is half as high. How is that even possible if there are roughly equal numbers of men and women? Here's how. A small group of men dates many women, while the rest date no one. The economy played against them too. Classic male jobs, factories, construction, manufacturing, have been shrinking for decades. Meanwhile, the fields that are growing, healthcare, education, social work, are traditionally female. A man without a degree in modern America earns less in real money than his father did in the 80s. And here's the result. Women say they can't find a decent partner. Men say women are impossible to measure up to. Both sides sit on opposite edges of a chasm that grows wider every year, and nobody knows how to build a bridge. But now for the most interesting question. What do these women themselves think about being single? And here's where the first big surprise awaits us. It turns out that a significant portion of these women chose to be single deliberately. Surveys show that more than half of single American women say they're comfortable without a relationship. They call it conscious singlehood. An entire movement has emerged. Women buying apartments for themselves, traveling solo, having children without a partner through reproductive technology. The industry has already responded. Single-serving products, studio apartments, tours for solo female travelers. Economists have even coined a term, the singles economy, and it's worth trillions of dollars. So it turns out the Morgan Stanley forecast isn't a forecast of catastrophe. It's a forecast of a new way of life that the bank advises investors to profit from. That's why an investment bank got interested in this in the first place. Single women spend more on themselves: clothes, cosmetics, fitness, restaurants, travel. The analysts say it outright. Buy stock in companies that serve single women. But don't jump to conclusions, because there's a flip side, and it's darker than it seems. Psychologists are sounding the alarm. Loneliness in America has reached epidemic proportions. The former U.S. Surgeon General officially stated that loneliness damages your health as much as 15 cigarettes a day. People without close relationships get sick more often, die earlier, and suffer more from depression. The birth rate in the U.S. has fallen to a historic low. And if the trend continues, America faces the fate of Japan and South Korea, where an entire generation has effectively given up on families, and the government no longer knows how to stop it. So the situation looks like this. Each individual woman feels free and happy, but society as a whole is heading toward a demographic crisis. Individual freedom versus a collective future. And nobody knows the right answer. And now, the paradox I promised you at the beginning. Hold on tight. Sociologists discovered something incredible. Despite all the talk about conscious singlehood, 80% of single American women admit in in-depth interviews that they would like to find love. They're not against relationships. They're against bad relationships. The modern woman says, better quality solitude than a low-quality marriage. Her grandmother endured because she had no choice. Her mother endured because that's how things were done. But she is the first generation in history that can say no and not starve. So 45% isn't about love being dead. It's about the bar being raised. Women haven't given up on men. They've given up on compromises. And now the ball is in men's court. Evolve or be left behind. And here's the final thought. America in this story is not an exception. It's a mirror. If you want to see where this road leads, look at Japan. There, it all started 20 years earlier. Today, almost half of young Japanese people aren't in any relationship, and a third of men under 30 have never even been on a date. In South Korea, an entire generation has emerged that journalists have named the 3 giving up generation. Giving up dating, giving up marriage, giving up children. The birth rate there has fallen so low that the government, in a panic, is paying people money just to go on dates, and it isn't helping. 45% is not the ceiling. It's just one stop along a road whose end no one has seen yet. The most developed, the wealthiest, the most comfortable societies in human history are arriving, one after another, at the very same point. Their people are ceasing to form couples. Perhaps 100 years from now, historians will call our era the moment of the greatest experiment ever conducted on human relationships. An experiment no one consented to take part in, but every one of us is already taking part.